NFL is scripted, and so are we. Welcome to the Misreps podcast. My name is Kanal, and I'm here with Adam. How you doing, Adam?
Bleep bloop. See, that wasn't scripted, so I don't know what you're talking about.
What are you talking about? It's in the
fake
Google
news.
Doc. I just saw that right there. Bleep bloop.
Actually, it was writing as you were saying
Wingdings.
it. Winding. No, I'm kidding. Man, I'm doing good personally over here. The snow and all that stuff is gone. No more icing. It's just raining now, but weather's, I guess, nice. Work's going okay, and then finally we get to talk sports today.
Yeah, it's our favorite day of the week. We get to talk sports.
Yeah. We had, I think, like previously over the past weekend, we had like the Pro Bowl games and the Senior Bowl and all that good stuff. But I mean, who watches the Pro Bowl games like that? I mean, dodgeball.
They tried really hard. I watched clips of them trying to go out there and play golf, and I was like, oh, that's funny. They're like you and me. But then I was like, all right, this is okay.
It's okay. It's okay. I mean, there's been a lot of talk of just like the draft prospects from the Senior Bowl and stuff like that, which we can get into next week. Like, post Super Bowl, we can then talk about like maybe some of our favorite candidates and stuff like that, going up, especially free agency stuff, because oh boy, does the Seahawks need it.
Yeah, we think that's we're gonna have four. Wait, the draft is March or April?
April.
Yeah, so we got some time to get down to the nitty gritty because we need to dissect exactly what we need. You're never gonna know what you're gonna get out of the draft, but you always know what you're gonna need going into the draft.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I mean, it's just a lot. This is like, I guess, as a Seahawks fan, it's like we've never just had one. Not saying we've never had. No, it's been a long time since this franchise had like 2 first-round picks and this many picks in top 50. So,
Yeah.
this is why it's like nerve-wracking. Basically, it's like if you
Don't fuck up. That's what I'm thinking.
Don't fuck up. But then the other part is like it's basically like if the last draft with Tariq Woolen and all of them, we got that crew of rookies. If we can score again, I think we're gonna have a very solid foundation going forward. It just has to work.
Yeah, that's always the big if. Everything is fine as long as it works, and the only time people complain is when it don't.
And we need a center. We need to go get a center. I saw a center. I think he's from Minnesota. I forgot his name.
I forgot his name too, but I saw it. He was at the Senior Bowl, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, so
he was doing really well. But he's like the top center. But I don't know if we can get him at 20. Our second first round pick. If you get both sides, especially a center, I'm good. Do whatever you want after. Do whatever you want after. Give us a center, damn it! Like the under curse.
Austin Blythe was easily the worst player on our offense last year, and I think that's by like a mile.
And that's with our right guard position switching in and out.
With them tag teaming a right guard position.
So I mean, man, it's crazy. But hey, at the end of the day, speaking of Pro Bowl games, let's talk about the Seahawks real quick. There's 2 things. Just one was just like a coaching update with Sean Desai. He's still looking at some DC positions. He actually pulled his name out of the Vikings DC job since that went to Brian Flores. So congratulations to Flores on that one. We'll talk about him in a second. Sean Desai is actually still looking at the DC position in Denver. And we'll see what happens with that. I mean, because I still want him to get a chance because, I mean, he doesn't really have like a distinct position within the Seahawks. But again, I feel like that if he were to go and get a DC position, he can make a name for himself.
Oh, for sure. And I think, just you can tell how good a coach is by how other coaches talk about him, right? And he's gotten nothing but, admiration from other coaches around the league, young and old. People have a lot of respect for him.
Yeah,
a lot of those open coaching positions are starting to dry up. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about them as we go around the league, but I think pretty much Arizona is the only one that doesn't have. Arizona and Indianapolis are the 2 teams that don't have coaches left, right?
Yes,
did Indianapolis sign one?
Not from what if they had a head coach, you would hear about it, kind of thing. I haven't heard anything. I've only heard like defensive coordinator positions, offensive coordinator, and then like the other positions like passing coach, DB coach, and stuff like that. But
that's not the main focus that people look at too. But actually, I have a question for you. But let's let you get through the rest of the Seahawks points because it goes back to the Colts because I just thought of it right now. So go ahead.
Oh yeah. So the final thing we have is that Gino mentioned during the Pro Bowl or the Pro Bowl games that not that it's actually fully done, but like things are looking very good for him and the Seahawks in terms of contracts, and he didn't really mention numbers or anything like that. But he's basically saying like a deal's going to get done. We're just looking at the numbers right now. Like we agreed on like something like in terms of like some verbal like confirmation of a contract, but like just got to get into the details of the numbers because it's going to be a contract where it protects the Seahawks if they want to get out of it early or even can phase Geno out into being like a mentor QB for whoever the next QB is. But essentially, it also works out for Geno being a person that has been a backup for 7 years and making whatever he's been making. Like this is his. You have to also understand that this is his chance to make. This is like honestly it for him to make that big money, like that big contract to get.
And I think he has all the leverage in the world because I think I saw something come out where insiders in the Seahawks organization were saying the gap in quality. I'm not saying talent, like we've talked about how Geno is more of a finished product. At least in my opinion, Drew Lock has more upside, but
Mm-hmm.
he's not anywhere near where Geno is right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying the quality of both right now, the gap in quality between the two is Grand Canyon esque. Something like that comes out, that there is, the direction that the organization is going to try to go if they know that if they're because the strategy right now is they know they're trying to find a bridge until their next big thing because Geno can be a good quarterback for us. Will he lead us to a Super Bowl? I mean, that depends on if we draft defense or not, as well as how long it'll take us to get there because he's on the other side of 30. So he'll, the organization they're probably going to try to get him locked down as soon as possible.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's. I think we're gonna. I think we'll find a deal. We'll find some numbers that work. I'm not really concerned with like, oh my gosh, he's taken up like all of our cap or something. I don't think it's gonna be that bad, especially with like the amount of like the cap space that we gained by not re-signing Russell Wilson, of course. Um, so which just man, I hope he does a good job over there at Denver, but we'll see. But I personally think that if, not if, but when Gino signs a contract and he's going to come back and stuff like that, I think he still has
He has some good
some
years
things
left in
to,
him.
yeah, he definitely has years left in him, but I also think he has some stuff to prove, not to prove, but to improve upon himself, right?
Yeah,
Of course, like just let me think. I think like just real quick improvements can just be like, throwing those starting interceptions in the games and stuff like that. Besides that, like, loosening up the ball, kind of like how he did in the first half, because I know it kind of got a little bit more conservative towards the second half of the season. But as long as he improves on his game, I think we'll be okay. We have to build a team around him, though. So we'll see how that goes going forward.
yeah, and that starts with our offensive line. You've touched on it a lot too, and
The
that's pretty
trenches,
much
man. The
the
trenches is
trenches.
important. Both offense and defensive line. I mean, hell, the 49ers proved the 49ers and of course uh the Eagles have proven that like
Oh
you
yeah,
have to have a good front seven and you have the good starting five.
oh yeah, and I think the next bit for us is probably getting some damn running back depth because that hit us pretty hard towards the end of last
I
season.
think we're still good because we had some running backs that were I think we have some running backs on future contracts if I remember correctly, and we had some people that we had like some vets
Yeah,
that we pulled in. I think we're going to be good in terms of like having K9, Dallas, and DJ Dallas, and it depends on if we are keeping Travis Homer or not because I think he's in a contract year too. If not,
I think
I
he's
think we
up.
can find a third. I think it's easy to find a third running back. If not, go and draft one. But
Yeah, but my point was is that our curse with the running back health, and we had at the beginning of the season, five running backs, and then eventually at one point in the season
yeah,
we had zero.
yeah.
So just building out that depth because you never know what's going to happen, especially with our running back room.
Yeah, I would just say either you go and sign a vet, but I mean, I don't know sign like some of those vets that aren't going to be high up on the depth chart, or just go and draft a very late running back. You just never know. That's my thing. You can't have too many running backs at this point especially for the Seahawks.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I think that's all I had for Seahawks. Did you have anything else you wanted to touch on?
Nope, it's been quiet on the Seahawks front. Besides, like we're not in the Super Bowl or anything. But let's head on out to around the league.
Yeah, first story up. It's one that was breaking. It broke the internet, so to speak. Tom Brady retiring, and he'll start his Fox commentating career in 2024. Fucking
Uh,
finally, am I right?
Yeah, because he even had the whole thing of him on the beach, and he was like, "Yep, I'm retiring." and I'm done for good. Like he had to add I'm done for good though, because
Dude,
like Ian Rappaport last time, or was it
dude,
Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter that had messed it
Shefty, I
up
think it
last?
was. But
It was Shefty.
did you see I saw I think I saw it somewhere. Someone posted on eBay a jar of sand from the
Yes,
exact spot where he
I
retired
saw it because they literally
for
went there.
$100,000.
Did it sell?
I don't know, but there were bids on it, and the last bid I saw was $100,000.
Bro, it's sand.
It's
Like that
sand.
sand is gonna go anywhere. Like, bro, you could even like argue like the sand. Like he walked on that beach, so you can honestly just like pick up the sand anywhere. But hey, if someone really makes money off of that, that will be so funny. But unfortunately, I think that was in somewhere in Florida. He did that, and someone's just like, you know what? Why not?
Yeah, and I mean, all jokes aside, man had 3 Hall of Fame careers in one career. Early Brady with the Pats, later Brady with the Pats. Because they had that gap in between their Super Bowls,
Hmm.
and then Buccaneers Brady, who was arguably one of the better ones too, which is kind of wild as an older
Yeah.
quarterback
Oh yeah. I forgot to also mention he also was posting like pics of himself. Like, am
in
I
his under.
doing it right? He was just like, "Am I doing it right?" I'm like, "Okay, AB."
Okay,
Okay,
AB.
okay,
Man's a
AB.
menace.
The menace. Yeah. I don't know. It's just it's funny. At least he's gonna have go out and have fun at this point because he's done. Like, come on, man. 23 years. You did it. You've won 7 Super Bowls. Unfortunately, I don't know how it's gonna be in trying to get you to another one because a team can only support you so much. The Bucks, personally, a lot of people were going to say he's not going to the Bucks, he's going to the Raiders or something. But I don't think he can lift up a team like he could. You got to give him some receivers. You got to give him some like a definitely a good defense, which that's what the Bucks
Let
did
yeah,
initially. So
let's not get it twisted. That team that Tom Brady airdropped into basically was a very complete team that were kind
mhm.
of being held back by Jameis Winston mistakes. I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what
yeah.
because they were already one of the best defenses in the league. Fantastic offensive line.
The 30 for 30 from Jameis Winston.
Yeah, the 30 for 30 for Jameis Winston. What a guy!
30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. I
What
remember it.
a what a guy!
What a guy. Unfortunately, he didn't really succeed in Saints so far, and we know that he's not going to be the guy for the Saints. It's really
I think
just
I
they
think
got to
the writing,
implode.
yeah, the writing's on the wall at that point for them, isn't it?
Yeah. But anywho, like with Tom Brady, again, that it does shake up the QB market in a sense too, because now Bucks don't have a quarterback. I'm not sure how. Yeah, they don't really have a high first round pick, so I don't, you never know. Like I know, like Derek Carr's been on the lookout, but I haven't heard anything about Derek Carr going over there. But again, that's a hole to fill over there in the Bucks.
Hmm.
If they can fill it, not sure how. They may even pull like a late QB in the draft or something, and then just say like, "Hey, this is your team now" or something. Who
Do you think they
knows?
might trade up?
I don't know if they have the capital to, and I don't think they should, knowing that they just lost like their quarterback. I think especially that they have a lot of money in their receivers and stuff, which I don't think they're going to be able to keep that team as it is. I would rather just save your picks and start like either getting another receiver to bring up behind who was it? Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and I forgot who was there. Not Julio Jones, because I haven't heard anything about Julio Jones retiring or anything like that yet.
No,
Because he's still,
I think Julio Jones retired, didn't he?
I didn't see a headline for that. I've only seen AJ Green retire
Oh,
so
okay.
far. Yeah, so unless like Julio Jones just comes out and retires too, which I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the man like TB12 got 7 Super Bowl wins, lost 3 of them. He's the all-time leader in passing yards with 89,214 yards and 649 touchdowns. And
Mm.
I got some stats here just from like when you say early Pats, late
They're
Pats,
not
and Bucks.
they're not called stats, they're called Adam fun facts. Drop
Oh
some Adam
yeah.
fun facts on me.
Here's some fun facts for you. So from 2000 to 2011, his first chunk, he went 140 wins to 41 losses. He passed for over 45,000 yards through 338 touchdowns, won 16 playoff games, 3 were Super Bowls. From 2012 to 2021, he was 138 for 44 in win losses, passed for over 52,000 yards through 372 he threw 372 touchdowns, won 19 playoff games, while 4 were Super Bowls. He's also a 15-time Pro Bowler. Obviously, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. Like
They might
that's
name the damn trophy after him.
man. If they do that, I'm tight. If they do that, like I don't really like the man like personally, but I have to respect his game and what he did because at the
Yeah.
very least, he played 23 years, and honestly, we've seen his life from a young man all the way up till like his post midlife crisis. And I'm really not joking here. We literally watched his midlife crisis happen live. and stuff like that. We've all seen the gaunt faced look and all that type of stuff, especially the divorce and stuff like that. Even Giselle was like on Instagram saying, "Hope you have a good time," and da 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 da. And I'm like, dang, she gave an HR response to this man, like to his retirement. So, I mean,
Yeah, man, it's been a hell of a career for him. A lot of people don't know is that he kind of birthed the Legion of Boom. Before they were the what do you call them, the swag tag group of that they were.
hmm.
But I think it started the year before we kind of started getting good. It might have been Richard Sherman's like rookie year. The Patriots were playing Seahawks at CenturyLink, which was
I thought wasn't it not the same year we went to the Super Bowl?
nope.
Because
Well, it might have.
it wasn't
It
that
was
20.
either his because we went in Sherman's third year. I think we were. It was either his rookie or sophomore season,
I think it was
and that's
sophomore season because he's been there for a minute. It wasn't rookie year, I don't think.
yeah. Because rookie year, I don't think we went to the playoffs. But
No,
and
that's
then
what I'm
his
saying.
sophomore year,
2013 wasn't the year. It was either 2014 or 15.
uh, well, 14 is when we won. But anyway,
Yeah.
this was early in their career. But during that game, Tom went up to that team, and Tom went up to like Earl Thomas and Richard Sherman. They'll be scheming, talking like formations and stuff like that. And Tom would go up to them. He'd be like, "Who the hell even are you guys? Like, where do you guys even come from?" And trying to talk trash and all that stuff. And then, when he didn't realize what kind of can he was opening, and then the defense came out and they just kind of smacked it around, and then came down to, I think it was basically the defense won them that game. And Tom Brady was walking off the field, and Sherm chased after him, saying, "You mad, bro?" That's where
Oh
that
man,
whole thing started.
that was actually let me think. I think it was 2013.
2013 is, I think, when
Yeah. No,
2013
no,
would be it.
no. 14. It was 2014, I think. Because
That
that's
I don't
when
know what it is, but it
during
doesn't matter. But it was, before they won the Super Bowl. It was probably like the year we played like the Falcons in the playoffs or
I think
something like that.
it was actual Super Bowl, I thought.
Yeah. But anyway, it's kind of funny that's like it was like that moment where like the defense kind of gained an identity, and it kind of came from Tom Brady. But then they also took his soul, took our soul. But
Yeah,
nobody
yeah.
likes talking about that.
Everyone's always going to bring up that moment as a Seahawks. That's one of our moments that always going to be remembered, unfortunately. But it is what it is. Everyone got something.
Yeah, for sure.
So next up, we have some other hires that happened. So, for instance, we got Steve Wilkes. He was hired as the DC of the 49ers, and Ejiro Evero, the former Broncos DC, joins Frank Reich in Carolina as DC. And I'm just kind of like, with like, well, Ejiro for Carolina, that's a good one. I think that's a good one for Carolina in terms of the defensive coordinator position. Steve Wilkes, I for DC for defensive coordinator for the 49ers. I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but I think solid enough to like, keep the defense running as it always has been with the pieces that they still have. Or they might lose. It depends on how those contracts are shaking out, but I'm not too privy to 49ers contracts at the moment.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Actually, and by the way, I just looked it up on the side because I was kind of curious. It was 2012.
2012?
Uh,
Okay, okay,
yeah,
okay.
and so yeah, with Steve Wilkes, I I really wish he would have stayed on as head coach at the Panthers. I feel like he earned that job. With just how much that team turned around and kind of rallied around this identity he tried to put in place. They fired Matt Rule. They traded away their best player,
Yeah.
and they go out and play like, five times better than they were before. Like, that's pretty wild. But I think the 49ers are getting a good defensive mind to continue the ship. Like you were saying, they got a lot of talent on that team. And, they're the last two defensive coordinators that were for the 49ers went out and got a head coach job. So who's to say that, in a couple of years time that Steve Wilkes won't go out and do the same. I'm not
Yeah,
sure how
hopefully
old
it's just
Steve Wilkes is, but it's probably,
like 50s or 60s if I remember correctly.
yeah.
But yeah, Frank Reich, the only thing about Frank Reich is just, again, will he be a good head coach for Carolina? We'll see, because like, he got let go in the middle of the Colts season. So was it really his fault? Was it
Yeah.
the Colts franchise's fault for how that season was going to go? Who knows? But
Yeah, and I think Ajiro Avero is gonna go into a good situation, like you were saying too, because the Panthers have pieces. J.C. Horn, Brian Burns, other
mhm.
players. They have. It's not like they're a who's who of defense, but um, with that being said, if they can continue playing like the running style of football that they were playing, It's just funny because I forgot to mention this last week because during Frank Reich's first press conference as the Carolina head coach,
Mhm.
he said he's looking to establish stability at the quarterback position, and
Ooh.
I'm thinking,
Well, I mean, he's not wrong because
yeah,
Sam Darnold's not a franchise QB.
yeah,
Period.
he's too hit or miss to be long term
Yeah,
solution.
he wouldn't be my franchise. If I were to inherit a team and I had Sam Darnold on it, you can be a backup, but you're not going to be the starter. I'm about to go and get they have a high enough pick to go get a quarterback. They're going to go get a quarterback.
Yeah,
Now,
and
if they're
so
going to jump up or not, who knows?
yeah, that'll be the question because they're kind of right now as things stand, they're in the middle of the draft, right? Because they had I think they had like a what was an 8-9 record type of thing or
Yeah,
7.
so they were like one of those solid teams that kind of finished like right below 500, and they have a good core to build off of, or at least to work on. So I mean, we'll see what they do with that number nine. I think it's number nine pick overall they have. So it's high enough to get leftover. I would quote unquote leftover QB because every quarterback out in the draft, excuse me, every quarterback in the draft has like a chance. You don't know. We don't know. Again, we said this last week. We don't know if Bryce Young is going to be the guy. Sometimes a QB takes a couple. Like honestly, you're supposed to give a QB like within 4 years. Like I'd say three if you want to have like an optimum amount of like to see if that's your guy or not. Like just how Hurts, it took him some time to get to where he is, no matter when you take them. So I mean, hey, they could probably try with the Florida quarterback if he's down there low enough because Will Levis has kind of been going up higher in the draft in the mock drafts lately. So you know, we'll see on that one. But I mean, the Colts are liking Will Levis right now just because I think the owner knows him or something like that, or it was like there's like a connection basically with Will Levis and the Colts. So yeah,
You
we'll
know,
see
actually,
what happens.
that's actually a good segue. This is for the question I had earlier, but I didn't want to interrupt you at that time. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so Colts, I haven't heard jack shit about any of their coaching head coaching hunts. No interviews, nothing. Like
I haven't either.
I mean, I don't know if that's just me being ignorant, but what the fuck is going on with there? Are they riding the Jeff Saturday train?
I don't know because I haven't heard anything. I think it was like for a good bit you heard all the head coaching spots that are open, but obviously the Super Bowl is one thing. Right after the Super Bowl, they're going to talk about who's left over and stuff like that. I don't know what the Colts are doing over there.
I mean, that's the alarming thing. I mean, yeah, okay, you can say that maybe they're interviewing current coordinators that are in the Super Bowl right now, and so they can't disclose that kind of thing as like a distraction or whatever. Because like we
I
know,
highly doubt that. I highly doubt. I've
because like
seen
we
so
didn't know
many
that
interviews.
We didn't really know that D'Amico Ryan's was interviewing for the Houston job until he actually got the Houston job, and so
I thought I saw him as a candidate. He was definitely a head coaching
it,
candidate. They just didn't say every single one. It's just up to whoever they were talking to, whoever the person was, like their informant or whatever, to let them know who he's a candidate for. Like, but you're right. We don't know like who's up for that spot, right? Because even the
because
Cardinals.
who decides who a candidate is, right? It's just anybody that's just out there trying to make a headline will say, they'll just name off the top coordinators. Like obviously, like both of Philly's coordinators are always going to be on everybody's candidate list.
Mhm.
People are saying like obviously D'Amico Ryan's after how good the 49ers defense is, he's gonna be on everybody's candidate list. So who
Yeah.
comes up with that candidate list is the question. But
The
the
media,
alarming
a mix of the media, and then the franchises probably have like their own list, unless they announce like, "Hey, everyone, this is our." Because sometimes they actually announce
because
who's
we
their final
even
candidates and stuff.
like the Arizona is the only other head coaching job that's open, and we know when people are being interviewed there, and that's the wild thing. So
Hmm.
unless the Colts are exclusively interviewing Super
The Colts are a
Bowl,
dumpster. They're a dumpster fire right now. So
so
especially
yeah,
with, the owner literally pulled like a random player, an old retired player who was coaching somewhere else, and said, "Yeah, you're the head coach." So I'm not surprised if they're not trying to put news out there. They're probably just not trying to have that much fire on them because they already had enough fire on them for the whole season.
yeah, dude, that's like that's what I'm trying to get at is that like if they're not even interviewing people right now, they're just gonna ride the Jeff Saturday train. If or that's
I thought Jeff, they actually, I do remember they were saying they were interviewing Jeff Saturday or something like that. That was like early head coaching talks, but I don't think he's in line to be the head coach again. He was just the interim one, so a
yeah. I mean,
weird
if you're
interim head coach at that.
because like all a lot of these good candidates are getting taken off the board. Even like young coaching minds like we talked about Kellen Moore and how there's a lot of respect for him
Hmm.
as a young offensive mind. Didn't wasn't was unemployed for less than 24 hours before
That's
he
so
got the
funny,
Chargers job. Yeah,
right?
Um, and so, the Colts are setting themselves up unless there's a lot of things being pulled in the background, which usually it's hard keeping secrets in the NFL. Unless there's a lot of strings being pulled in the background, um, they're looking like they're setting up themselves for a Jeff Saturday season.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. So I mean, it's just up in the air. It's whatever they want to do. I feel like their window closed and they're just going to be in rebuild mode, especially when they have to go and get another quarterback and
It's
stuff.
a damn
So
shame too, because they had some ball players on that defense. Well,
yeah,
they
I mean
still do.
they still do, and they still got Jonathan Taylor at running back. But then like this past season, it was just, and it happens after like a running back has like a big season. Sometimes there's a drop in performance. Besides, like, oh, can he maintain the performance? Which that's actually more unlikely. But at the same time, I think age is starting to get to him a little bit. I don't. He's
Just
not
the
that old,
just the
but like
touches and stuff.
yeah, it was just
That's
the
just
amount
what
of touches
happens.
he had. The Demarco, if we all remember Demarco Murray
Same
from like the
story.
Cowboys and stuff like that. I don't. It's not that bad to where like he's fallen off that much, but they rarely used him like that this year. Even like people like Fieldy Yates and stuff was like, are they not going to just you like Jonathan Taylor? You have a running back, and then like there was games where Taylor would have a game, but then like it wasn't just consistent. So
Yeah, and that's all I was trying to ask you about the Colts, because I think that's just been like one of the weirdest situations. Even when nothing is going on,
they can be
they're
a
doing
dumpster
weird
fire
things.
for all I care at this point. That's just
Yeah, not fun being a Colts fan right now.
oh yeah, definitely not fun. Especially for Pat McAfee. Yeah, you gotta just work with what you got. So another big defensive coordinator hire was Brian Flores
B
for the
flow.
Vikings. Yeah, and I personally I believe that was a great hire for the Vikings because that's basically what they were missing in their team was having a good coherent defense that wasn't giving up alongside their offense being amazing because their offense was amazing this year. It's just that their defense was basically what held them back. And
Yeah, for
they
sure.
always say defense wins championships. So
Yeah, and we know how many less than one score games or one score or less games that they've won. It's not sustainable for a team, and a lot of that comes down to like defense maybe not pulling up their side of the bargain. So getting Brian Flores in, I have a lot of respect for him. For me, I think that thank goodness he didn't get black booked, because we know how much of a dictatorship mafia the NFL inside like ownership can be. And so, he's got that open lawsuit. I don't know the progress on it. That just goes
for
to
all we
show.
know, there was like some silent settlement for all we know because I haven't
Yeah.
really dug deep into it as of right now. But that is, whatever happened to that lawsuit, right? So well,
Yeah, and
who
so the fact
knows?
that there's no media coverage on it kind of goes to show the power of the NFL.
Right.
And so, I'm just glad that he's out there coaching again. Big fan of him when he was at Miami, because that defense was balling out when he was there with guys like Xavier Howard and those guys.
hmm And
And so,
now he can focus on defense because I mean I don't know what happened when he was head coach. There was a lot of stuff, so it's like I wish he had like another season just to see if it to prove if it was a fluke or not. But regardless, I think he'll have another chance at head coaching someday.
he's still young in his career and stuff. So if he gets the opportunity to establish his name on a third and create a third elite defense,
hmm
obviously the Patriots defense can come down to a multitude of things, but Miami defense, he pretty much architected that. If he comes to the Chiefs or the Vikings and does the same thing with the pieces they have, because they got guys like Zadarius Smith and you know all the other pieces that they've had, still
Yeah.
in their room. So they have an opportunity to really run the table on their defense. So if he does that again, he'll probably be on the short list for candidates next year for head coaching jobs.
No, that'll be a 1 year turnover right there. I think he might stay for like a couple years with the Vikings, but who knows?
Yeah.
Hope it depends. Yeah, like you said, like it just depends on how they do next season. If they actually have a fire offense again, if Kirk is still there, I don't know if it was his contract year or not, but if they can just keep that offense up and then the defense just improves, I mean, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure.
Next up, Brian Schotty or Brian Schottenheimer. For Seahawks fans out there listening in, we all remember him,
Yeah.
but he was hired as offensive coordinator for the Cowboys. And that's and then a little extra little bit is that Titans elevate Tim Kelly to offensive coordinator, so they filled in their spot, by the way. But for the Cowboys, though, for me, sure. Lol.
Yeah.
Sure. Lol, 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 lol. No, okay, but like just really I'm just laughing out loud on this one because like it's
I'm not like we're
he's
not
not that
saying
great.
it's
He's not
not great.
bad.
He's not bad. I mean, no one is arguing
He's
that he's bad.
middling, and that's
He's
what the
he,
Cowboys are.
and yeah, but Yeah, no, they fire Kellen Moore, and then they go ahead with Brian Schottenheimer. Like, he's had his fair share of boneheaded calls. We all remember the wild card game against the Cowboys where it was like 4th and 20, and he calls like a running back draw or something like that.
No, was it a running back draw or was it like a was it a screen? Because I remember we did
Oh,
a
it might
lot of
have been a
screens.
screen. It might have
Oh
been a
my
short screen or
gosh.
something like that on 4th and 20, and everybody was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Maybe that's why the Cowboys hired him, because they gifted him a playoff win, which is very hard for them to come by.
Right,
Yeah,
but I don't know. For me, like for Cowboys fans, this is just straight for y'all. You're going to be disappointed. I'm just going to let you know you're going to be middling. You're going to be very disappointed and pissed. And with y'all's contract, you got those people on the team that I said, well, Dak. You got Demarcus Lawrence or D Law, Demarcus Lawrence, and you got Zeke and others that are taking up a lot of cap space. Good luck. All I
yeah,
have to say is good luck.
and with this all just looks like a hire for a coach that looks like he's going to be fired next year. Like, if we're
They'll be the
being
new
honest,
scapegoat because they got to keep protecting their head coach, right?
yeah,
McCarthy, because McCarthy ain't a bad coach.
yeah, it ain't McCarthy's fault, but we know, like, let's be fair, like, Brian Schottenheimer during those let Russ cook years, before Shane Waldron,
Hmm.
he did allow Russ to cook for a good amount of time. And there is something to say when you have to work with Russ and still put up high numbers. At least for half a season, we
The
always
whole
have
thing
that
with the
half season pop.
Seahawks, but the whole thing with the Seahawks offense around that time was also like apparently it was like Pete, trying to butt in, and then Brian Schottenheimer with his thing. Russ wanted another, and so there was
Yeah,
like a three-pronged war for how the offense should be. And technically, it got to the point where it feels like Pete. I'm not saying he hasn't, helped call any offensive plays, but it feels like he kind of like let the reins go for Shane Waldron to do what they need to do, especially early. Again, like we say, that's first like 8 or 9 games in the season, and then they kind of went more conservative. But regardless of the matter, yeah. But either way, Cowboys fans, I got nothing to say on that one.
looks
Titans
desperate.
fans, at least you have a decent offensive coordinator in Tim Kelly, straight from the team. So hopefully, your team cannot be what's the phrase, like a one trick pony, I guess, because you can't just always rely on the run. I know the run has helped y'all, or y'all had a lot of yards with the King Henry himself, but at the same time, it's especially when Ryan Tannehill goes down, it's like nothing.
Yeah, and you kind of have to hope that Malik Willis develops a little bit, and if Malik Willis comes out and balls next year, maybe that can be attributed to Tim Kelly. Side note: when you wrote Tim Kelly, I read it as Jim Kelly, and I was like, why is Jim Kelly and coming back from? For those of you who don't know, Jim Kelly, quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, with those four straight Super Bowl losses. So I was like, why is he coming back to be an offensive coordinator?
For no
But
reason,
for no
just because
reason,
for shits and giggles, if
for
you
shits
would.
and giggles. But now Tim Kelly, inside, it's something that you would expect for someone that's out of the Belichick tree to hire from within, and bring his kind of guy in.
Yep. So unless you have anything else to say on these two hires here.
Nope. Let's
All right.
go next one.
Yeah, so we got final, well, not final story, but one of the last two stories. This one is over AJ Green, the man himself, is retired from the NFL. He had about, I think it was a 13-year or 12 or 13-year career, 7 Pro Bowls. He was drafted, in the first round, fourth overall pick by the Bengals. Uh, some fun facts. He had over 727 receptions for 10,514 yards and 70 touchdowns. He had 1,000 yard seasons from 2011 to 2015. That's when pretty much everyone knew about AJ Green around that point or that period of time. And I think he also had a good not 2016, I think it was a 2017 season. But like later in his career, that's when like the end. I wouldn't say that the age is one thing, but it was definitely like injuries and stuff that kind of derailed his career because he couldn't stay healthy in his last like 3 or 4 seasons. If I remember correctly, 2019 he didn't play at all. That was kind of like the year he needed to just kind of get his body right. And then even after that, he was only playing like half of the games, like 9 or 10 games at a time
It wasn't
per season.
even. I wouldn't even say. I'd have to double check this, but I think he's had injury problems like intermingled throughout his career. Not the early few years where he made a huge name for himself, but he kind of had this reputation of, because I had him on my fantasy team for like 2 years straight. and at least half the season it
It
felt
was
like
after the 2015 season. That's when I think he got like a major injury that 2016 because of his like you can actually even see like he didn't go for 1,000 yards and I don't think he
yeah.
started every game. It was in that 2016 season that it happened. But yeah, oh
Yeah, I
man,
mean,
2011 to
we all know the
2015.
quarterback, or we all know the wide receiver he was leading up to that, and
Mhm.
it's like one of those things where we're like, man, what could have been? Because he had all the qualities to be one of those all time receivers. It's just injuries took their toll, right?
But yeah, I mean, he's gonna retire. He got a family. Do your thing, man. Uh, it also just reminded me like one little bit when he was with the his because he was with the Cardinals his last 3 years I believe, and there was a game where basically every year like they had him or every year I think since he was on the team with the Cardinals would just implode on themselves like by the end of the year they'll be hot in the beginning then they'll be like cold towards the end and I still remember that one play where Kyler it was like a game where they needed a touchdown and Kyler threw the ball to AJ Green and AJ Green was still running forward and he didn't turn around so as he turned around the ball flew past him and stuff like that and he looked
Yeah, I
back at
remember that.
Kyler like wait what and then Kyler was just like pissed like I
Oh
remember
yeah,
that particular play and I was just like oh yeah that's just not looking good for you buddy like man like this it was just one of those things I don't know if it was IQ if it was on him but man that was
I just think it's just not being on the same page. We've seen it happen time and time again with great quarterback
right
and wide receiver relationships.
yeah I mean the only thing I have left to say is just like do you think he's a Hoffer in your opinion or just retired and that's it he was a good solid receiver.
For me, probably retired, good, solid receiver. I don't think he's going to be a Hall of Famer. To be fair, no disrespect to him, but he hasn't hit the milestones that a lot of Hall of Fame receivers have hit in recent years.
I mean, it depends. I personally think he might even get maybe. I don't know if he'll actually become a Hoffer. He may end up on a list of some sort. You know how they always do it every 5 years or so. But yeah, because I've definitely seen some players that got into the Hoffer, and it's just like, oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
But
yeah. It feels like that kind of award is like the Hall of Fame award or being inducted into the Hall of Fame has kind of lost its shine for a lot of people because it just feels like, any great any middling quarterback, even when they retire, they're like, oh, he's going to go in the Hall of Fame one day. And it just feels like it's lost its prestige, I would say, something that has to be earned. And so
well,
maybe gets on like a ballot. Maybe he'll get some votes. For me, I probably wouldn't put him in the Hall of Fame, but who knows down the line what'll happen.
is oh hold up, let me do this real quick search because I just want to know. Did do you think? So I'll just say this. Do you think Tony Romo would be a Hall of Famer?
No.
Even though like a lot of people were saying he was going to be in the Hall of Fame just because he had all those accolades and stuff from the Cowboys, but no
What
Super Bowl
accolades?
wins.
Like he didn't even have a conference championship win.
No, accolades as in like franchise records and stuff like that. He did. He has some franchise records,
Oh yeah, with the
unless Dak
Cowboys.
took for the Cowboys. But it's just I've heard a lot of people saying he was going to be a Hoffer too, and I'm just like, there's no Super Bowl. There's no Super
You don't
Bowl
have
to
to
go.
have a Super Bowl. I mean, Larry Fitzgerald deserves to be a Hall of Famer, no doubt. But I wouldn't say Tony Romo is in that same category. The Super Bowl helps your Hall of Fame resume, but you don't need to have a Super Bowl to be a Hall of Famer.
That's true.
And
That's true.
and Tony Romo doesn't have a Super Bowl. That he
I
doesn't mean
mean,
he can't be a Hall
some
of
of the
Famer.
older players, like Shannon Sharp, Deion Sanders, and all them, they were saying like, nah, they just been letting people into the Hoffers. Like they were saying, they were kind of saying like, you need at least a Super Bowl to be
Well,
considered.
I wouldn't go as far as say that because then you wouldn't have like Larry Fitzgerald is like the example that I keep going to because he's probably had one of the best wide receiver careers in history. Never had a Super Bowl. He's been to one, but he hasn't won one. And so, do you not put Larry Fitzgerald in the Hall of Fame because he hasn't won a Super
But
Bowl?
why is it because of like so with Larry Fitzgerald? Is it also just because he got accolades with I guess NFL records, if not franchise records? Because he got franchise record, and I don't know if
Yeah,
he's still holding on to an NFL record at this
I
time.
think he's still got NFL records.
Like
And
which
so,
one? Do you
uh,
know?
I think it has to go with like the biggest one that comes to mind is drop passes. I don't think he didn't. He hasn't like dropped a pass or he went like the majority of his career without dropping a pass.
So
Some
that
like
would make
ridiculous
you a
time.
Hoffer because he didn't drop a pass.
Well, that to go along with all the receptions, receiving touchdowns, and receiving
Yeah, because
yards
I'm
as
saying we
well.
got Well, Jerry Rice is already in the Hall of Fame, but like that because I look at those
Jerry
other
Rice,
receivers
that's not a fair
too.
example. That's the extreme. That's like saying Tom Brady's going to be in the NFL or in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
You're
So,
talking
I
about the
mean,
greatest wide receiver of all
yeah,
time,
T
but
up.
we're not talking
Yeah.
about the greatest quarterback of all time with Tony
Right.
Romo. We're talking about middle of the pack at best.
True, true. But yeah, I'm not gonna say that AJ Green is a Hoffer, but at the very least, I'm glad he got a chance to retire now. He got his money. He can just kind of like scope, kind of coast out and do whatever he wants to do post football. So
Yeah, I mean he's not I mean I want to say he's walking away whole, but he's had all those injuries in his past, but
yeah,
he's getting the opportunity to walk away, and
yeah.
if, with that he can focus on his family, like you said.
Next, the last story I got here, or actually got another couple. I keep forgetting, but one story we got is the Derek Carr watch. I kind of forgot to mention it, but like he is obviously up for. He can go and talk with teams. I don't know if a team is going to trade for him or just wait till the Raiders cut him. I think a lot of teams are going to try to wait for the Raiders to cut him because right now teams would owe him like 40 plus million a year. Like I think 30 something, if not 40 something of it is guaranteed per year and stuff. It's basically like starter QB money for the next 3 years if someone was to trade for him. So right now he's actually been approved to go and visit the Saints, which like honestly that kind of makes sense too because Saints actually just need a dang quarterback. Like stop the whole Taysom Hill experiment. Maybe at best he's a gadget player. Jameis Winston isn't the truth for them. He had a good stint, but Derek Carr would bring. I think Derek Carr would actually bring a lot of stability to the Saints. Although the Saints are hitting cap issues, so they're definitely going to be letting people go. Like Michael Thomas and all them about to go.
Cap issues is or saying cap issues is putting it lightly. What was the number that you told me earlier?
The Saints is well. If he were to go to the Saints, I don't. That's what I'm saying. I don't even think it's going to work with the Saints because, like, with what money? Because they're 60 million above the cap right now.
Yep.
So, like, they literally have to like cut players, or somehow they can do some cap magic. But there's
That's
only
a lot.
so much cap magic you can do. But I'm not surprised if they find some way to make it work.
Cap magic is like we talk about cap magic all the time, but all it is taking money that players are owed today and paying them tomorrow. So that's probably cap magic is probably how they ended up in this predicament to begin with.
Yeah, because at this point, I don't know. They're just broke. Like they're actually like in terms of spending money, they're broke. So I don't know what's going to happen unless they have some void contracts or something like that. That's what I'm saying. Like all these void contracts, paying up front to like open up some cap space later, and all this other stuff. They can only do so much, but they're 60 million over the cap. So
Which is ridiculous. I ain't seen something like that in a long time.
yeah, their pockets are abysmal right now. Just terrible.
Yeah, the Derek Carr kind of had a day at the Pro Bowl, or he was doing the QB drills, and the only thing I had to note about it was that he had like that funny moment with Ryan Clark, where Ryan Clark was like saying that after the quarterback skills challenge, "Have you ever been this hot in Vegas?" Derek Carr said, "Probably not," which is why I'm not, which is why I'm going somewhere else.
That what a man, right?
Yeah,
He's a man's man, and with that answer, just like yeah, I mean, because he is going to go somewhere else because
yeah,
they're just trying to they're basically redoing the team at this point. So they're rebuilding, they're retooling. I don't know who they're going to all keep because this is the year where every one of those first round picks they got their they didn't keep their fifth year choices around. So it's really just who they're going to keep, because Josh Jacobs is a free agent. Um, and among some other players, but obviously Devonte Adams is still there. He's under contract, and I think Darren Waller too is also on contract still too. But we'll see.
yeah. And if you're Devonte Adams, I feel for the guy, but hopefully he can get some quarterback to, because he's one of those guys that can go down as an all-time grade too. So hopefully he gets someone to come in and feed him the
Yeah.
ball.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think you also had a story you wanted to bring up.
This is kind of just like a, this is kind of just like a, what do you call it, water cooler topic. But I think it was today or yesterday, Antonio Brown came out, said he has CET or CTE, and that James Harrison gave it to him.
I mean, like, one, congratulations. We knew you had it. I mean, I don't know what else you want us to say, especially with all his antics
Yeah.
over the years. But then coming out and trying to just put blame on a player for it, it's like you can do better. But then at the same time, I personally just think he needs a little bit of help.
Yeah, and I mean, when he came out and said it, I don't know, I didn't quite understand it, or maybe the tone of it. I think he was being serious, and it wasn't, something that he was saying lightly. But come out and say James Harrison did it. because even James Harrison kind of came back, and he said because he's kind of got this reputation of being kind of a meme lord, if you will, on Twitter,
Hmm.
and he said, woke up to find out this is the reason why I had 150 unread text messages, and it was because that story had come out, and
When did he ever like? When were they on like the opposite fields of each other? Because James Harrison was on
practice.
the. So it was practice that he got CTE from. Because we all thought it was that game with the Bengals where he
Yeah,
got cracked.
where Vontae's perfect ended his soul right
I
there.
personally think that's where it was, and he's just not really thinking clearly because I don't know how it was James Harrison. I mean,
Yeah,
they even tell you not to crack your own boys during like practice.
yeah.
So for
I
all we
mean,
know,
they
Mike
you don't
Tomlin
even
don't let stuff like that slide.
when you practice. I mean, you usually don't like full pad practice isn't really much of a thing anymore because you're just running through,
I mean,
your drills.
back in the day, it was though because Mike Tomlin's been on this team for 15 plus years.
Yeah,
So,
that's fair.
um,
And so, especially with a guy like James Harrison, because he used to call him, what he used to call him, Dabo from Next Friday,
oh Debo,
or
yeah,
Debo, sorry.
yeah, yeah, they got
Uh,
Debo there. So, but that man, yeah, that man's just literally like a workout machine right there. Because oh my gosh, that man was doing a lot, and even post football, he was still like he was still doing stuff like in terms of like the powerlifting kind of thing. So I don't know. I call foul on this one. Of course, it's Antonio Brown. You really can't unfortunately take anything he says seriously. Yeah, he has CTE. I'm going to take that seriously. We know that. Is he getting help for it or not? Because
that's
that's
the
the
question.
issue. Yeah, that is the big question. But I mean, other than that, I mean, let's. I would rather just move on to the Super Bowl because that's low.
Yeah, I mean, you can't even come out and say he had CTE, right? That's what it
You
was.
have to add something on it because, like, well, it was that player's fault. Oh, okay, not the one play everyone was saying it was for years on end. Right now, good luck with that one, buddy.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk Super Bowl.
Super Bowl, Super Bowl. So we got your two teams. You got your Eagles and your Chiefs. I don't know.
Take
You
a
got
minute.
any? Yeah,
Let's
you
take
want
a
to talk?
minute and just like talk about like the story, some storybook moments around that on the Super Bowl, right? Because that's
Sure.
what they're trying to. That's what the script has been written. That's why the refs gave Chiefs the win last week.
Of
They
course.
so we what do we got going with the Eagles and the Chiefs? We got Andy Reid's return to Philly.
That's
You know,
true. That's going to be something right there, right? Wow, who would have thought this was going to happen at the end of the season? That's cool. I mean, like Andy Reid's been his own man. He turned KC into the juggernaut they are today. They they made they drafted Mahomes and they paid him handsomely after that first Super Bowl win, but they set up that deal to where like for the next decade they can always kind of put players around Mahomes because you at the time everyone was like, "Wow, you're just going to go broke with Mahomes," but it's like
you're talking about
you
today's
don't
money.
understand. You're talking at the time, yeah, you're talking about today's money, but over time that cap is going to be so less that there's going to be quarterbacks out there that will get paid more than what Mahomes is
Oh,
because
for sure, easily.
his $500 million deal isn't really fully guaranteed. Granted, he'll get it if he were to go to like multiple Super Bowls and stuff like that, right? But that contract is really like a 3 or 4 year contract, and they could easily get out of it. It's one of those things. If they really want to get out of the Mahomes, they're not trapped in like the weeds with him though either.
Yeah, and Andy Reid, I don't think he left Philly on bad terms. I think it was just kind of like a mutual parting type of thing. Like, we
Yeah.
had a good run, but on the other, I mean, he's turned, like you said, he's turned Chiefs into the juggernaut they are today. But Nick Sirianni's coming in his first Super Bowl as a head coach.
Yeah.
A guy that kind of struggled last year. I was critical of him. This year he's kind of embodied that Philly persona where he's like that up in your face, flip you
Hmm.
off type of guy. It's kind of like a tale of like two different football cultures, if you want, right?
Yeah. I mean, for Nick, I'm just hey, your
Take it
first
all
Super
in.
Bowl. Take it all in. It's your first Super Bowl. I don't think he's gonna like panic or anything like that. You still got a lot of experience with the Eagles still on their roster. So at the end of the day, I think he's gonna have a good one. This is gonna be one of many for him.
Yeah,
So
and for a lot of them, this is like, I mean, there's only five players on that Eagles team that are returning to the Super Bowl from that
yeah,
previous Super Bowl winning team. That's Lane Johnson, Fletcher Cox, Jake Elliott, Brandon Graham, and of course Jason Kelsey.
yeah. And then of
So
course, speaking of Kelsey, you got the Kelsey Bowl,
yeah,
right?
the script writes itself sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah, because Kelsey, well, one Kelsey and them have a podcast. Jason Kelsey with his brother Travis Kelsey, and they've had like both Mahomes and they have Hurts on that podcast throughout the year, and now they're just having like we're gonna call it the Kelsey Bowl at this point because come
Yeah,
on now, you know that's gonna be a big thing. Kelsey's way is into that career of his, and I don't know. I like both of their personalities and all that good stuff, but like man, I just want someone else to win than Casey.
yeah. I think that's what it comes down to. And
Right.
we were talking about this before too, and the fact that those five guys are on the super or from the our um,
Hmm.
carryover from the last Super Bowl team, it kind of goes down to like what you were talking about building out the Eagles team, right? Like you start those
Yes.
they started the fact that those four players, excluding Jake Elliott, who's a kicker,
Mhm.
they're deep in the trenches. They're like stalwarts there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, they invested in that O line. They still kept it invested over time. They have made the choice to like get rid of Carson Wentz early as they could. I think that was like the 2019 or 2020 season. From there, they got Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts didn't have a good, starting year or anything like that, but of course they basically just like they hunkered down, they invested in him, and as you can see over the years, these past couple of years, they've been making trades and or acquirements from free agency or otherwise to get players around him. For instance, it was the last I think it was this past draft, they could have went for Traylon Burks, but then a lot of people were saying, well, Traylon Burks, he really looks he's like an AJ Brown. And then for them, they were just like, why get Traylon Burks when you can just trade for AJ Brown, right?
Yeah,
Because the Titans weren't willing to pay for AJ Brown at the time, and this is what you get the young. This is what I talked about way earlier in earlier episodes of the podcast. You're going to get a lot of GMs that are going to start trading more often. If you at least say like, what do you learn from every Super Bowl, from the Rams Super Bowl? It taught everyone that you should probably use some of those first round picks, not all, but you should probably use a first round pick, or maybe just make a trade, make a big trade, because like we don't see a lot of those trades happen, and we're starting to get those often now, right? Even for like a lot of the how the first round of this upcoming draft is shaking out. A lot of teams got two. Some teams got like with us, like we made that trade with the Broncos, so now we have two picks. You got, I think it's the Eagles, and I forgot who else has like a couple of picks up there, but regardless, you're going to get a lot of teams that are going to start copying this. They're definitely going to copy whatever the Eagles have done. Because honestly, we were talking about like what's the strength and weaknesses of each team, and we can actually say with the Chiefs, I can actually say some weaknesses myself. But then like with the Eagles, it's like they're just loaded.
yeah,
Like the front seven, we'll just say front seven, especially with Hassan Reddick. Oh my gosh, amazing, right? Because we,
yeah.
we might as well just talk about it at this point.
Yeah, but really quick, it's not even fair to say that like Philly sold it. It's actually I'm not even going to say it's not fair. I'm going to say it's factually incorrect to say that Philly sold the kitchen sink so that they can, acquire players like AJ Brown. Like they traded a first round pick for AJ Brown to the Titans. But
Hmm.
you look at last year, they traded their first round pick for two first round picks from the Saints
Saints.
so that they
Hmm.
can draft Chris Olave, and then that first round pick from the Saints that in this upcoming draft is a top 10 pick. Like
Yep.
that's some like
That was a
galaxy
stupid
brain
decision on
as
the Saints. That was stupid on the Saints to like
that
all
was stupid on the Saints,
literally
but
like you went up for.
that's some galaxy brain moves.
Yes.
If something like that comes on your plate, which is why I'm always like, maybe if something like that came on our plate, we can do something too. But it's like lightning striking the same place twice, right? Like they have somebody has to be dumb enough to do it.
And they also got who was it? They got what, Darius Slayton, I believe, or is it
C.J.
no?
Gardner
Yeah,
Johnson,
Steve Gardner Johnson, and also James Bradbury as well,
yeah,
right? They
these
got a
guys,
lot of good vets.
these guys who were kind of afterthoughts, right? Like they kind
Hmm.
of came in and they just they just flourished on in that Eagles defensive
They're,
scheme.
they're actually using Hassan Reddick how he's supposed to be used as compared to when he was on the Cardinals and stuff, where he's basically like they have him. The Eagles have him on the line rather than having him in space. And oh boy, have you not seen him in the playoffs recently?
Yeah. We're
So.
getting into the deep dives of each team. So let's just break it down. Let's start with we're gonna go a little bit into each team with regards to like their strengths, weaknesses, some key matchups and
Mhm.
some X factors to look out for. So, starting with the strengths of each team, we got to start on the high. Start with the Chiefs. What do you what do you see as the strengths of each of those teams?
Mahomes, Kelsey, and the passing
Kelsey
game.
plus Mahomes, Mahomes plus Kelsey.
Basically, just the Mahomes Kelsey factor is just the one thing, right? If
Yeah.
that's their big strength. Mahomes himself, Kelsey, especially with Kelsey, because Kelsey has just, oh my gosh, how many times have we seen a game where like Chiefs are out of the game, but the next thing you know, Kelsey does something big, 80 yards something here, or like a good 30-yard to set up a field goal there. So Mahomes, Kelsey, and that passing game, and I'll also include like the crazy plays or the creative plays they can even do, even crazy plays in the red zone as well. So we're gonna definitely see some like crazy red zone plays. I'm not gonna say they're gonna be frequent, but they're gonna pull out all the stops,
Oh yeah, for
because
sure.
it's the Super Bowl.
For
Yeah,
the
go ahead.
Chiefs, at least I would add on to, because obviously that's what everybody's going to say. The Mahomes Kelsey Mahomes connection.
Yep.
That if you could, if like we were saying, I think last week, if you could put a connection into a Hall of Fame, that's probably an all time connection.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would add to that the D line for the Chiefs has been subtly, if not pretty good, as of late, between Frank Clark and Chris Jones. Chris
Mm-hmm.
Jones kind of shook off this curse of never being able to get a playoff sack. Or I think he had career playoff sacks or something crazy like that, even though he's been in the playoffs time in and time and again.
Yeah.
But that D line has a way of getting to the quarterback and getting sacks, especially with Frank Clark, who's just like a speed freak off the edge too. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of crucial when it comes down to this time of the year for football teams.
Yeah, and I mean that's pretty much it. Like for me on the Chiefs, it's mostly just focused around their offense. I would say they have improved that D line with a couple of players like you mentioned, Frank Clark and Chris Jones. So I mean they just got to be consistent and score, right?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Just score more points than the other team.
Yeah, score more points.
Canal's key to the game. Score more points.
Got to score more points than the other one. And that's for both teams, by the way. They got to score more than the other.
Yeah, that's the key. What about the Eagles?
I'm gonna say for them, Hurts and the rush game, because you combine with a quarterback that can run the ball with a team that had the top rushing attack. I think they had over 39 rushing touchdowns, which was more than I think it was like the Green Bay Packers from like years ago, which was like they had 37 if I remember correctly. So like this is like unprecedented, especially with like the quarterback is also like adding on to it. That's a big one. They have a solid offense. Devontae Smith and AJ Brown. Okay. And they got
Yeah.
a solid tight
Okay.
end in Dallas Goddard as well.
Yeah.
And I think in the solid front seven. Oh my gosh, Jordan Davis, like Fletcher Cox, all, and then like Linville, like was it Linville Joseph and all of them. Like, oh my god, they got the
Hassan
whole,
Reddick, Brandon Graham, like they just everybody on that front seven is a
and
baller.
they have depth
Avante
too.
Maddox.
Yeah, they have depth too, so they can always rotate people out and they can still be fresh and stuff. But like, man, like that,
Oh
like
yeah, you're right. Because they filled in with guys like Ndamukong Suh and stuff like
yes.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, because they had that one loss. That one loss was I think it was either from the rushing game or something. And then Nick was basically just like, you know what? Never again. Let me go get Linville Joseph and Ndamukong
No, you
Suh.
got to give credit where credit's due. That's Howie Roseman, man. That guy has been like GM of the decade with all the moves that he's been pulling.
Yeah, they're just those were like the free agency pickups right there. And then finally, they have they have vets, like actual leaders, locker room and on the field on both offense and defense.
Yeah. For me, I mean, like you said, Eagles best rush attack in the league. I was harp on about how it's important it is to run the damn ball, but
Oh, facts.
they have a passing game with Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, and AJ Brown that complements that rush attack so well. Like once they get that rush attack going, they got the play action, and with the threat of Jalen Hurts with his legs, and being able to throw the ball deep.
Hmm.
I mean, it's just crazy. And we all know how good of a go ball he can throw to AJ Brown. That connection has been like documented time in and time again this season. But on the defensive side of things, like you said, front seven, they're 5 sacks away from getting like the most sacks in a season, which you could throw an asterisk to, because maybe they didn't, because week 18 is, or we have an 18-week season instead of 17-week, but still it's a hard number to reach.
Yeah.
And they're first in pressures, and they don't really blitz all that often. They just kind of generate pressure with their
Base
standard
four.
formation. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, it's just amazing like what the Eagles have done to where like holy crap, like, and they were like almost undefeated for the regular season, just one game loss.
And
So
on the defense, or also on the defense, their secondary led the league in picks. So pick your poison, really, because you're not gonna get a lot either
that
way.
Eagles, I'm telling you, defense can win championships, and I think they're going to be key. Well, I mean, before we get in terms of strength, they're going to definitely be key. That defense, if you can hold like Mahomes off, and cover Kelsey? Like if I had to say choose one player on the each of the offenses to cover, I would say for the Eagles, maybe watch out for Devontae Smith because that's a speed demon right there. And then because AJ Brown's like AJ Brown too, he's good too, but you got to pick one. I'll just say Devontae Smith for now. But for the Chiefs, just cover Kelsey, and then you worry about whoever other receivers are trying to step up and stuff like that. Of course, I would say MVS, but at the same time, I'm gonna keep it with Kelsey because that man has been a game changer for the Chiefs almost practically every game.
I mean, that's a good transition into like looking at the weaknesses of each team, right? For me, like
Yep.
the Chiefs, you like you said, who's in that receiver room, right? Because
Hmm.
who's going to stand out in that receiver room? They brought in guys to replace the production of Tyreek Hill, like Kadarius Toney, Juju, Mecole Hardman. He has been injured. He was already on the team, and MVS, and it's just I don't think they had a single 1,000-yard receiver this season, which is
Really? Oh,
wild
wow.
for the Chiefs. I mean, I'll fact check that in a second, but you know, who can really step up in that receiver room? That's the big question. And then on the other side, on the other side of the play call sheet, you got you don't really have any consistency in terms of like what kind of rushing attack you're gonna get, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
And
because who's the running back? Like, we know who the running back is, but like they it's like a complimentary run game, if you will. Like it's just like a little. It's like it's another version of like the Bills run game.
yeah,
It's
it's
there.
it's it's there. I mean, if they go off, it's nice, right? That's actually a great way of putting it because Isaiah Pacheco has had some good games. Jarek McKinnon has gotten a lot of solid touchdowns and stuff like that. But in terms of like their utility, Jarek McKinnon kind of emulated a lot of what Austin Eckler was doing towards for the last season, right? Not a
Yeah.
lot of receptions, not a lot of yards. Good option when it comes to the red zone. Isaiah Pacheco is kind of emulating that Devin Singletary type of production, right?
Oh
Where
yeah.
he had certain games where he'd put up 80, 90, 100 plus yards, but for the most part, he's not the star of the show.
Yeah. I, it's true. The offense is like it's only being upheld. Basically, it's kind of going against that thing of like don't do it. Like if you're trying to win it all by yourself, but like the Chiefs have found a way to have like a system with Mahomes to throw to like any receiver and kind of help them be successful. A law somewhat to like Tom Brady in his earlier years. So it's if they can get that like the receiving attack open, I think they're gonna definitely get some touchdowns here and there. It's just a matter of consistency. Like if they cool off and they don't get it going, because again, the Bucks showed that if you keep the pressure up on Mahomes, they're not going to win a Super Bowl. They lost a Super Bowl to the Bucks with that,
A
right?
Bucks a
So
Bucks team that I don't even think if they blitzed, it was very infrequently. And
right.
I'm glad you brought that up because that is 100% the analogy, the parallel that I'm seeing is that in terms of like units matching up, it's a lot like the Chiefs offense facing that Bucks defense all over again because that's what the
They've
Philly
changed up the O
defense.
line. They've changed up their O line a little bit since then. Of course, obviously that was like they knew that was their weakness, so they've
They had
put
a
some
lot of
pieces
injuries
in
to be
there.
fair too. We can't take that away from them. The Chiefs O line.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, for
And
sure.
I just looked
Mhm.
it up too. Juju was the closest one, and he had 933 yards receiving in the regular season.
Okay, yeah. So if anything, they were spreading the ball around essentially because basically any receiver could pop off at any
Anybody with
one game.
hands.
Basically, if you can catch and you can run fast down the field, sure. I'll just say like the weaknesses I'm seeing is just they ride on that Mahomes Kelsey connection a little too much at times. If you stop Kelsey, he's gonna have to rely on the receivers, and then like I'm not saying you can double cover everyone on the field. You can only have so many guys, so I would just say watch out for Kelsey. It's
If you
watch
haven't
out for
heard of him,
Kelsey, but if you also stop that connection, I think you can do a lot with that. So um, yeah, if you take out one, the team kind of crumbles. Like either one, the Mahomes or you take out Kelsey, it kind of crumbles. But again, if the defense can get after Mahomes, that's like pretty much it. But I'm also going to say their defense as a whole, somewhat because their defense has been kind of sus this whole season. They've kind of tightened up for the playoffs, like as most teams are going to. But I think that they still have like, especially with their corners and stuff like that. They do have some rookies out there. I think you can find, some matchups there to like, to take advantage of. But it depends if I mean, the Eagles got a very strong O line for Jalen Hurts, so I feel like they can protect them. But you never know what they can do. For the Eagles, it's weird to kind of say what weakness they would have. I mean, you may have to go back to the game where they lost, where they basically like their defense just didn't do what they were supposed to do, and Jalen maybe got like a little frazzled in that particular game, which he seems to have learned from. But at the same time, it all relies on like the execution of Hurts, because this is kind of like Hurts. This is your moment. This is it. I'm not saying like if you lose this game, it's over for you for your career. It's one of those just like it hinges on your execution. Um,
I think that's fair to say because we kind of saw how this team functioned when Gardner Minshew came in. Not to say they were awful, but it wasn't. I mean, it almost felt like it bled into the way the defense played a little bit, right? Because
yes,
I think Sherm said it to KJ Wright: the best defense is a good run game.
yeah,
Because that's where it starts with the Eagles, and that's a great point because if you have like if Chris Jones and Frank Clark can get in the backfield, it might create some problems for that.
but at the very least, I feel like Hurts is more mobile than Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes can't. Patrick Mahomes looks
He's got
stiff.
that weird run, man.
He got that weird one. He has that weird run, and like he's still quick. Don't get it twisted. But at the same time, like I will, if I had to bet on someone's legs between the quarterbacks, I would bet on Hurts's legs more so than Mahomes, in my opinion. And I mean, Mahomes kind of suffered some, ankle injuries, more not like anything like severe, right? But we'll see what just happens here going into that match. But that's like kind of the weaknesses I see so far.
For the Eagles, for me, I think the main thing that I was seeing that it's really hard. Like that's how you know it's a good team. It's kind of hard to pick apart. Like break it down unit by unit. Tight end, fantastic. Wide receiver, fantastic. Running back, O line, QB, D line. Linebackers, secondary. They're all excellent. The only thing I could say that the Eagles don't have is maybe experience at this level. For a lot of these faces, it's
Yeah,
a first time thing, and besides like the people carrying over from the last time the Eagles went to the Super Bowl, plus some new faces like Ndamukong Suh and
yeah,
those kind of guys that have won it. It's really hard finding a weakness, but they haven't been here and meanwhile the Chiefs are on their third trip to the Super Bowl in like the last 5 years or so, right?
yeah, that's true.
And so that can, the environment, the setting can get to a lot of these younger players, and I think that might be the
Hurts included, because he
Hurts
hasn't been
included.
there. So that's why I said it hinges off of Hurts. Because like if you're just like choked up or something like that, I don't know what to tell you.
This one's for all the marbles, right? Like you lose a regular season game, hey, you come back next week, you fight hard, but this is what it all comes down to, and if that cause, I mean, that might cause a lot of anxiety for like a lot of these young players, and that's like legitimately that's the only weakness I can see out of them.
Yeah. And do you have any like key player or position group matches that like to kind of look at
I'll
for this whole thing?
I'll reiterate the one that you said again, which was that Eagles front seven versus the Chiefs O line. The Chiefs O line. I said like the parallel was like the Chiefs offense versus the Bucks defense from 3 years ago. I think that's basically what's happening again.
That's
And
the
you can,
key one. You hit it on the key. Like that's like number one. What is the Eagles front seven going to do to the Chiefs O line? Because it starts there
yeah,
for me.
and if you can't give Patrick Mahomes any time to improvise.
Oh my gosh,
It
yes.
doesn't even matter like, oh, I have him turned the wrong way or anything ridiculous like that because there is no wrong way. There is no bad angle. There is no, you know, he can throw a ball literally sideways. He did that in the last Super Bowl he was at.
Yes, and then like he can always improvise well on a play. Like even when like he's coming down from a sack, he'll just throw the ball and then someone's like there to catch it and take it upfield for like another 20 yards or something like that. That's happened this year, this
Yeah.
season. It's crazy.
And that's like the big one. And if Patrick Mahomes can't get going early, they're gonna force themselves to be into like a one sided game because then the Eagles will come back on their side and just do what they normally do, run the ball. Because like we were saying, like the two playoff games the Eagles played, nobody really stuck out on the stat sheet.
Yeah,
No one had like a day on offense, but they were blowing teams out, and that's scary if you're coming up against that. It's scary if you think about it, next year because a lot of these players are going to be coming back.
that's true. And like the thing with the Chiefs is that you don't know when they're going to hit you with a trick play either. So you have to definitely be disciplined for that. And I
A ring
know
of
that they recognize like they're like, we know that you have a good front seven, so we're about to have like a lot of quick throws and stuff like that. So it's really just a matter of like secondary to that matchup would be like hopefully the Eagles secondary can hold up in case like the D line can't get to Mahomes in time and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they're healthy again back there too. CJ Gardner Johnson is back,
Mhm.
leads the league in interceptions and that kind of thing.
Yeah, he was
And,
tied
for yeah,
going and the
the
rest.
the one and only dude. I saw like this is a side note. I saw some like if you could go what's the term for it? If you could go back and redraft the previous season, they
Yeah,
had like some people had like Tariq Woolen going third, Brock Purdy going fourth, and I'm like, man, you talking
third.
about
Okay, like I would give
man
like Tariq Woolen's height, like his ceiling would probably be like
somewhere in the middle of first round, I would say, but not
middle of first. I don't. I would say like late first, early second with Tariq
okay. That's
Woolen,
fair.
and
But they
then
put
Brock
they
Purdy's that late first, early second as well because
yeah,
he wasn't like the standout quarterback, but then like
dude,
oh yeah for sure though.
I thought people's like, draft predictions or projections or whatever were head ass sometimes, but man, people can't even get it right when they're redrafting. But
Oh
anyway,
man,
for other key matchups, I would say, just to rattle off my last one, probably the Eagles wide receiver room versus the
hmm
Chiefs secondary. It's not that the Chiefs secondary is terrible. They got my boy Trent McDuffie out there. Shout out
yeah,
Huskies. But the Chiefs are likely game planning to stack the box and limit the run game. That's what you kind of have to do against this team. And if they go ahead and do that, you can look to the Eagles to try to get their run game going by passing because they have that ability. They got
hmm
Devontae Smith, who's a fantastic route runner, the Slim Reaper, and AJ Brown. There's plenty of film on him catching go balls. He did it 3 times in one game once.
oh yeah, true. I mean I think those are like the two like those ones you put up are like the two major matchups because at the end of the day that's what it's all going to come down to and really like ultimately Eagles front seven and basically what can the Chiefs offense do.
Yeah,
That's like for both sides. That's what I was going to even say. Like, even if I were to say, what about for like the Chiefs? Well, the Chiefs they just got to get their offense going and keep it revved up because that's honestly their strong suit is
yeah.
their offense. So, um,
And that just kind of caters to Andy Reid. Andy Reid is an offensive minded coach. Like
yeah,
he's been an offensive minded coach for a long time. You think about all the great quarterbacks he's coached and that kind of thing.
facts. Is there any like I guess like X factors or anything like that? Some players that are just like they'll be the key changers in this game.
Yeah, to look like guys that I would look to maybe turn the tides of the game. Probably
Yeah.
be like you mentioned MVS. He was the guy that turned the tide for the game against the Bengals. And I could just because I don't think Juju is going to be healthy for the Super Bowl. I don't think he's practicing as of right now. Still, I think Kadarius Toney might be back, but I don't think
I think
Juju
they
is
got a
back.
lot of. I think they had a lot of their people. Like a lot of Chiefs came back from some of them off of IR, while some got put on IR and stuff like that.
Yeah, I
I
think
forgot where.
Mecole Hardman got put on IR or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, just you could replace MVS with any damn Chiefs receiver stepping up because like the Chiefs are going to do with try to take out the Eagles run game. We know that the Eagles are going to try to do the same thing like you were saying, take out that
Mhm.
Travis Mahomes connection or Travis Kelsey, Travis Kelsey,
Travis
Patrick
Mahomes.
they took his last name. Travis Kelsey, Patrick Mahomes connection, and
Mhm.
if teams game plan entirely around that, that'll open up some space for your wide receivers, assuming that your front seven can't get home.
Yeah, actually, I think one player from the Eagles for sure would be Hassan Reddick. He's been on like a stretch of games,
He's on a tear, dude.
postseason and even during the season. So I think he's going to be a key. Like even the last game, he was a game changer in that first half. I know it kind of cooled off a little because that's probably because they game planned for him in the second half. But like, man, did you see him in the first half where he was like tackling? He even got the sack and it looked someone was even the game commentators were just kind of like, wait, I know he sacked him, but that looked like like he strip fumbled him. And it's like no. I was like, oh
Yeah,
my gosh, that would be so awesome if he did because it was like he had like like two hurries, a sack or two, and like some
he's just
tackles
been an
and
absolute force of nature for that defense, and
he's gonna be the one because of course you got your anchors in the middle, right? Even
it,
Jordan Davis could just step up out of nowhere. You don't know. Like
yeah,
Jordan Davis isn't just some big dude that takes up space in the center. Like this man ran like a 4.75 or a 4.7 for his 40 time in the
that's for a big
combine.
man. That's
He is
fantastic.
6'3" or 6'4" and like 340 pounds. I need you to understand like that's like
Faster than me, and I weigh half his weight.
yes, like a lot. Like even when I was in football, I think I hit like 4.7, a little bit below, maybe to like a high 4.6, but like I was a lot lighter than like Jordan Davis. And
Yeah,
Jordan Davis is doing it taller and bigger than me. That's a hey, that's an X factor right there too.
And it comes down to like how they reinvent, how they have that Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox. They have that like foundation.
Who is an
That
X
guys.
factor on that defense at this point? They got
Yeah,
Sue, they got Linval Josephs. Like, just throw everything.
yeah. You can anybody who it's just it's like when the Seahawks faced the Broncos. All those years ago, right? Who was going to step up? Malcolm Smith, the guy that was a seventh round pick, got the Super Bowl MVP for a defensive return touchdown and a fumble
Oh my gosh,
recovery.
that was
So
like the
like
best Super Bowl too. Like it was just like where were the Denver Broncos offense at? They were gone.
they were the best all time, and that was the side note on that. I think it was such a one sided game. Come the second half, that people were turning it off, and like the ratings were going down. But
Oh,
but anyway, this game kind of it has that air about it, right? We'll find out really quick, what kind of game it's going to be, and I think that's going to be the important thing. But like you
yeah.
said, anybody can be an X factor on that defense. But
I mean,
any
Jalen
other,
Hurts will be for the offense because everything the offense is going to flow through him, whether he's passing that ball to someone, handing it off, or just running at the ball himself. Because you never, when they get into the red zone, they have many options to get into the end zone too.
oh yeah, the
So,
ring around the rosies.
whoa, Chiefs, yes, Chiefs
Oh, I
got the
thought
ring
you
around the
said cheap.
roses. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
but you're right though. Chiefs got the ring around. Like that's why I said about the Chiefs. They got the crazy plays in the red zone, but then like with the Eagles, it's like you got to stop Hurts, you got to stop all these receivers or our
Yeah.
running backs. Take your pick.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, I thought
I
you
think
said
it's for
Chiefs
both
earlier. My
sides,
bad.
technically. No, it's all good, man. Like, because, like you said, like you just reminded me of that play too, and they got
Such a
called up.
troll moment.
They got a penalty for it. Then they were just like, okay, we're gonna stop playing. Actually, run a regular play and still score a touchdown.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's the Chiefs for you,
Who
especially
were
when
they
they're in the
matched
red
up
zone.
against? Was it the Titans? No, it wasn't the Titans.
It was a play. I thought it was a playoff game.
Jags. Yeah, I thought it was.
Jags. I thought it was Jags.
Yeah, was it Jags?
It might not have been Jags. I can't believe I forgot what game who they. It was late in the season. It was like either right before the playoffs or like the first game of the playoffs for
Okay,
them.
yeah, yeah.
Regardless,
It's like one of those. Yeah, it'll be on the DVD at the end of the season if they win the Super Bowl. Like,
oh, that then they're gonna talk about all of that, man. But
oh yeah,
I mean, thinking like as we're talking about these two teams, I mean, they're two powerhouses in their own right. With both Mahomes on one side, you got Jalen Hurts and his Eagles on the other. Um, Again, like we said this before, like you have one. It's still history. You got two black quarterbacks in this Super Bowl. For the very first time, especially two quarterbacks that played in Texas.
yeah.
Shout out to Texas, but man, like it's going to be a crazy game. I don't know how it's going to. I hope it's not like a blowout. That would be so disappointing. I think it's going to be a close game. I can't give you like a score off the top of my head. Like I feel like it's going to be down to the wire because it's going to be one of those kind of games
Hey,
where
maybe the script is written. That we already know what the results are going to be.
they're already in the room right now. They're just doing rehearsals at this moment. Like, hey, you got to make sure that the ref calls you for this right here and stuff like that, right? But
Yeah.
at the end
Eh,
of the day, like, who do you think? I guess we can kind of go into if people haven't guessed who our picks are. Who would you pick to win the Super Bowl?
yeah, we it's the same we had last week. It's Eagles, man.
I thought there was going to be a change. Like, oh, you know what? The Chiefs, man. It's
No,
always the
you
Chiefs.
convinced me.
Yeah, we're both basically saying the Eagles, so that's our Super Bowl pick. Eagles are going to get it. I think they edge out, even in like but not even looking at the odds, which they still have the Eagles edging out. I feel like the Eagles have if they play on all three sides, both offense, defense, and special teams, they can win that game.
Oh, easily. Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, because they're the more complete team. So, but the thing is that Vegas only has them as a 1.5 point favorite. So, script's written.
The script is written. They're doing rehearsals right now. They're just making sure like, hey, we're gonna have like a controversy moment right here that everyone's gonna be talking about for months, and this is
Yeah.
what your social media team is gonna have to know ahead of time. Don't
But
slip up.
yeah, but it's kind of wild, right? Like, we kind of mentioned about it when we were talking about Tom Brady retiring, but like they're the old guard and quarterbacks. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is the only one left, but
Oh shoot, you're right.
it's basically like our childhood is over. Like those
Yeah,
guys that have been around for a long time, Peyton, Drew Brees, Philip Rivers, Tom Brady,
that's a whole
Aaron
era. Like, did you see
that
Did you see did you get that from that tweet from PFF? Because they were the ones that tweeted out like a Photoshop thing where it's like end of an era and like all of those old QBs
probably.
are gone. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's like that's our childhood.
Oh man, like
We
if
played those teams for like a decade on Madden.
facts, bro. Like that's what I'm saying. Like you got to at least post that picture from PFF on the YouTube, man. Like you just got to show because like I got it right there too. Yeah,
Oh
'cause
man.
I have it saved so I can shoot that to you. But
My
yeah, it has all the six of those. So the Eli, They had Eli
Eli
Manning,
Manning, yeah.
Ben Roethlisberger, Big Ben.
Oh, shit, I forgot about Big Ben.
Yeah, you got Philip Rivers, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, and Peyton Manning. So both of the Mannings and all that, like 6 QBs are just they're
No
finally
Aaron
gone.
Rodgers? Aaron
Aaron
Rodgers
Rodgers.
is still playing,
Oh
yeah,
my
but
gosh.
yeah, still.
No, let's talk about him real quick. Just real quick, quip. I heard a thing, right? Everyone keeps asking what he's doing. He was
Oh,
playing
man.
golf and all this stuff. He literally said, I'm not going to make a decision about whether I'm going to come back to play again next season or not, because he could be on this list too. But, uh, I'm not going to make a decision till after he calls it a darkness retreat or something like
Dude,
that.
he's, like, dark isolating for, like, 4 days or something ridiculous like that.
I mean, hey, I'm not gonna lie to you. I get it because when you're actually keep yourself tuned to like I'm saying, like I'm not speaking for Aaron Rodgers, but have you ever just wanted to have like a day where you can just whether you want to concentrate on something but you don't have like social media open. If you want to
Turn
watch
off
a
your phone.
YouTube,
Don't throw yourself down a cave or a well or wherever he's
yeah,
doing his retreat.
go to a little cabin or something like that, and
Oh,
get
yeah.
the nature, and it's only 4 days, right? I'm just saying, like if you made your money and you just want to, I personally would do it. I would just have the time where it's like I want to go like, just I want to go underground for like a few. I have my moments where I want to go underground for like a week at times, man.
Yeah,
So
just,
I truly understand it from Aaron Rodgers' perspective. He's like, I'm going to make a decision after that because he can actually he's going to be looking at himself. That's
mhm.
one thing about those types of retreats in general. Now, I'm not talking about the details of his darkness retreat, but even though it sounds edgy coming from Aaron Rodgers,
I
but
don't know, man. It feels like there's, like, ayahuasca involved in here or something as well because that
oh,
man's
I
on something.
I don't know. I mean, why not? I mean, why not just get attuned with nature and stuff? I'm not saying like live outside, but like I would have a nice cabin. I'll have like a nice area to go to. And if you want to get high or something like that, go right ahead. I mean, I feel like he deserves it. He's made his money. Granted, he hasn't been back for a Super Bowl, but at the same time, he needs to make that's a very important decision. It's going to affect the Green Bay Packers, if not him and his family.
Yeah, and, there we can start the rumor mill and stuff like that, like, Jets are the name that are being thrown around, maybe Raiders because 'cause they're moving on from Derek Carr,
Yeah, but
but
Raiders. He could go to the Raiders because Devontae Adams. I have
Aaron
to go
Rod
follow my boy.
yeah, because, while he was at his golf event, a fan asked him, "Hey, Aaron, Devontae Adams is looking for a neighbor," and Aaron goes, "Tell him to buy me a house with all that money he got."
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like Aaron's pretty, I think, like a chill dude. Obviously, until you kind of get into like what his beliefs and stuff are, and just in general, and what he thinks. But at the very least, he looks like just a dude that's just like I'm
Vibing.
here. You know who I am. He knows his worth. There was the question of like, bro, are you trying to win? Like, when Gronk was like, are you trying to win an MVP or are you actually trying to win a Super Bowl? Like, come on, bro. So
Yeah,
it's just kind of one of those things, right? Where you have to question it. But besides that, like, it really felt like he was in it for like the accolades and the stat padding. And I'm not saying he was literally just out there throwing the ball just for the sake of it, because Drew Brees had his moments where you're just like, is he stat padding? He tried to
yeah,
get
for
that
sure.
record up a little bit before he goes because he knows Tom Brady's still gonna still go after him. Um, but yeah, we'll
Yeah,
see what
that's
happens with Aaron Rodgers. But I think he'll come back for another season. It just might not. It won't be with the Green Bay Packers
oh,
unless
for
he just
sure.
if he retires, then it's definitely the end of an era. That's all of your old QBs that we all know and love. Not all of them, but that we know. And then now we're on to the new batch. The
Yeah,
Josh
which is kinda
Allen's,
crazy
the
with
Mahomes.
that's why,
Actually,
like,
Russell
Mahomes.
Wilson's still there too.
Yeah. But but, like, that's what I was trying to get at too, is that the fact is that, like, we're looking at, like, Patrick Mahomes as, like, the leader of this new generation of quarterbacks, right? And so, like, the fact that he's already at his 3rd Super Bowl, he's already kinda got, like, that quote unquote "villain status" type of thing where or, like, like the, what do you call it? The favorite status, right? And
I would
so
say Burrow would be like the more the villain compared to like people look at Mahomes as the hero, while like Burrow might be like the villain because he has an origin story for himself with these Super Bowl or like trying to get to the Super Bowl again and stuff. So that's just my
yeah, that's
opinion
true.
though.
And so with at least with this specific Super Bowl, I would
Hmm.
say that he's kinda got that villain reputation as, like, the guy that's just, like kinda like how people looked at Tom Brady and how when they were at the Super Bowl every year kinda thing, like, "God damn it, Tom Brady again." But,
I will actually challenge you and say it might be. I would say it's Jalen Hurts' villain story because a
you think
lot of
so?
people have you not seen like even like Skip and everyone else were saying like they don't really see Jalen Hurts being a franchise QB for the Eagles and stuff like that. And look where he's at now with the Eagles. Like they
Oh,
were
yeah, that's true.
undefeated, like
Well, it
almost
shows what Skip
un,
knows because
yeah, it shows what Skip and others know, right? But there was even a thing at this like Super Bowl media day, right? And I saw this clip too. Someone was talking to Jalen Hurts. They were like, "Hey, Jalen Hurts, funny story. I really didn't think you were gonna be making it with this team and stuff back in the day." Jalen Hurts was just like looking at him, just letting him finish, and he was just like, "So, I want to just tell you, bro, like, I'm sorry because you obviously you're here and you brought the team here." He was just like, "Okay."
Okay.
He literally, no, literally, that was his response. Was like, "Okay, okay."
Fair enough.
Right, because like people were literally writing him off too, and it's just like, look
He
where
didn't
he's
write
at
back though.
now. He did not write back. I mean, in the spirit of Gino,
Yeah, I did not write back.
I definitely did. I didn't even know. Wait, you wrote me? I didn't even care.
Yeah, I didn't. I
I'm
left
just,
you on red.
even if you have an Android phone, or no, even if you have an iPhone, I got the. Even if I have an Android, I'm just gonna send you red,
Yeah.
just to make sure you know. But yeah, man, it's a lot, and the fact that like you got reporters coming out apologizing to Jalen Hurts and stuff like that. It's like, oh, even if I was Jalen, I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, you want to ask and say anything else besides you want to give me an apology? Like, okay.
It's kind of funny too, because like the like Super Bowl press conferences and stuff like that are starting, and like one guy asked Nick Sirianni, "How important is it that you go out there and win the next game?" Nick Sirianni just kind of looked at him like, "It's a Super Bowl, dumbass. Come on, what are you telling me?
It's very important. Oh, like
You're new here, aren't you?"
oh, you must be who? Like who? Like, when did you start? Oh, a few weeks.
uh,
Okay, I got you. I got you. You're just trying to start off with a warm up question. Okay. Oh
oh,
no,
you're
that was
from
the actual. That was the
oh,
actual
you're from
question.
you're from ESPN Europe. Oh, football, not like soccer.
Damn. Yeah, man. Like that Super Bowl media days are
It's
those
wild,
are a
and
trip. But
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
right, I remember that the best. That's the best one.
I was thinking
And
about that's how I was going to start the podcast as well, but I stuck with the scripted.
of
I was like,
course,
we're just
because
here so we don't get fined. So welcome to the Miss Reps podcast.
yeah, man. I would want to find the other people so I can get some money in my pocket. But
Yeah. Do you know Tom Brady is like Tom Brady immediately started his own podcast now. It's called Let's
yeah,
Go. And
yeah.
his first guest was Bill Belichick, and they had kind of a moment which you kind of just appreciate,
Yeah, he had.
you know.
I heard he got emotional because like Bill Belichick was like, I mean, he had to retire at some point in time. Some
You
things
got to
have to
do the
come to an
impression.
end.
You got to do an impression. He's like, you got to retire at some point.
Oh,
Well,
you gotta retire
you
at some
very
point.
good
And
quarterback.
he
I
played
love you.
football. He played football for me. He executed well. 7 Super Bowls. 7 Super Bowls. Like just seven.
I saw a reel like while my internet was cut. I saw a reel where it was like Steve Belichick was like someone was doing an impersonation of Steve Belichick, and he was watching Coco Melon doing his weird like weird tongue thing or whatever. And then Bill Belichick walks in and he's like, "Hey Steve, you've been watching all that film I sent you?" And he's like, "Yeah, Dad."
Yeah, man. Because that's man, I'm actually glad. I mean, Tom Brady can start anything and it'll just pick up, right? Obviously, you'll be like, "Yep, it's the start of the podcast and stuff like that." So he he's gonna be working with Fox. Will he ever do a comeback, kind of like how Brett Favre did? I
I
highly
I
doubt
hope
it.
not.
I hope not, and I highly doubt it because like it's like why, and then who, and then like what
What are you
team
trying
would
to
want
prove,
you?
man?
He don't need
You
to prove anything. He tried. He already
Nope.
lost. He lost his family over football. I mean,
He's got more Super Bowls than any team in the NFL.
this is facts right here. Facts.
What is
He
it, 6
went.
or
He went
7?
to 7. He
7,
went
yeah.
to 10 Super Bowls and won 7.
Yeah, 2 because of he lost 2 because of Eli and 1 because of Saint Nick.
Yep. Yeah,
Man,
that's
that's
like. Can you picture him having rings on all of his fingers though? Low
Bill
key.
Russell style.
Oh my gosh, just like what was that? And like what was that? Like I remember like all those commercials like just have all of like the Super Bowl
Yeah.
rings on one. It's just like and what was that? What was that rookie? It's just like all Super Bowl rings. Like
Yeah.
but anywho, I mean
Any
we
yeah, I think that's all for us though. Like any last minute send offs?
yeah. I'm about to go and demolish this chip and dip we got from HEB because we went to
Oh
the
hell yeah, dude.
HEB.
HEB chip and dip
Bro, the
slaps.
queso, the queso we got. So
Slaps.
so we went to HEB, right? Real quick, we went to HEB. We went to the one in Plano because that's like it's
Is
only
it
a
the
few
bougie one?
HEBs out in the DFW area as a whole.
Mm.
I think there's one in Frisco, Plano, and I forgot what the third one is, but it's just not it's not in Dallas proper. So, and Dallas County is like a really huge thing, so it includes some other cities. This HEB was so huge. How huge was it? How huge was it, Adam? It was so huge that like it looked like a warehouse, like a Costco warehouse, but like it
Damn.
still had the on the inside. It still had the HEB vibe of like your lanes and stuff, but it was crowded. I'm not gonna lie to you. I walked in that thing. I had a little bit of like social anxiety for a sec. I was like, "Yo, I've never been to an HEB where like you just go into a random aisle and you're kind of like have to wait in a queue with other people going down that same aisle and stuff like that." Because I'm just used to like when I was back in the Austin area, just the HEBs obviously were not as big. It's bigger than like a HEB plus, which is like the super HEBs, if you will. And
People don't people
it also had a lane where you could drive and get barbecue.
really?
Yes, like you could actually do it. Go to a
People
drive-through and get barbecue,
people
and it's
don't
all in the
realize,
same building.
there's a college football like bowl game, or like a rivalry game called the HEB Bowl. I can't remember who it's between. I think it's like
Hmm.
Texas Tech and like Texas or something like that. One of those type of rivalries, and it's
Hmm.
called the HEB Bowl. People don't realize how important HEB is to like the Texas community, and like how
Bro,
like ingrained it is. People love that shit. People go out there for a day out type of thing. Like my parents go to Costco for the same kind of shit, but other people in
you
Texas, they
go
go
to
to HEB.
Costco and Sam's Club for the bulk. You get your stuff in bulk. We go to Costco too, but like
Apparently,
HEB, but
you can get
HEB
drive through
though,
barbecue.
yeah,
Apparently, I had never heard of.
you can't get that drive through barbecue. You can't get that
Mm.
nice like ribs or something like that on the way out, man. And it was in like a nice area too in Plano. So if you ever come up to Dallas, bro, like you gotta at least like go to that HEB in Plano just to see the size of it. And like it's literally like a field, and then you just see like a huge HEB that everyone it has traffic going in and out of
I just want to
because
imagine like the car, like the parking lot for the cars
bro, it was
is like
packed and it was a
it's
huge parking lot.
I imagine it's like like a football stadium sized parking lot for that big of
We
an
literally took
HEB.
the first thing that we saw when we drove. It's like, nope, just I don't
We ain't
know
dealing with
how.
this.
Yeah, we ain't dealing. I said, baby, go park right there. Like, get right there. We just parked, and then like, man, it was huge though. But I will say, like, when I went into that thing, I was like, there's a lot of people in this. I even talked to the cashier. Cash said, because this granted,
Slow
this was
day.
after it wasn't a slow day. Yeah, it's a slow day, but it was after the freeze that happened in Dallas. So of course, people are getting those groceries and stuff. So it was more packed than usual. But even the cashier was just like, yeah, sorry about that. This is very like busy today. It was on Saturday that we went, so obviously the first day in the weekend.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
oh man, but either way, the chips and dip, we got some. We had like found a sale where we got chips, dip, fajita meat, and some other
Oh
stuff all for
shit.
free. Bro, you gotta check the coupon. You gotta look at your coupons, man. The coupon, like it was like literally a coupon thing like this big, and it just had like all this like free. Like, the queso was free, the chips was free, the fajita meat was free. You just had to buy like one or two things. Like it's crazy.
Oh, for
But
sure. I
besides
mean,
that, NFL script memes, they have been hilarious to say the least, and I love them on Twitter.
yeah, that's for sure. And last thing I was going to say about HEB is, the dude's name is Howard Edward Butt. I'm pretty sure they're going to make like a holiday after this guy because that's how much they love him in Texas.
I thought there was already like a HEB day at somewhere in Texas. Some mayor said, "Yep, this day is dedicated to HEB" or something
I
like
would
that.
not be surprised.
But the HEB has been doing a lot of good in like the community and stuff like that, especially like with the Hurricane Harvey stuff and all that
Oh
good,
yeah,
all that jazz. So hey,
it's Texas
um,
true and true. They look
Texas true
after
and
their own.
true. But yeah, man, that again, that HEB was big. I have not seen an HEB that huge. It was like a warehouse. If HEB had a warehouse, it was that. But they said no, it's still a store. Look at these aisles, and they had aisles and stuff. Man, it was a big HEB. But yeah, NFL script memes, they've been hilarious. I love how we try to find like stuff like JPP during
Oh my god, just
during his year, and he's just like, oh my hands and all that type of
my
stuff.
favorite
But
one. There's so many good ones, dude. Like the what was the other one you were telling me with? Was it Plaxico?
no, it was I've seen the ones where like quarterbacks on their season where they had like a big injury like Alex Smith before his
Oh
big injury
yeah.
season. Like it was all of those, and people just find every excuse. Or no, it was like Antonio Brown and his script.
Oh yeah, yeah, dude. Or the one where it was like Tom Brady in 2016 waiting for Matt Ryan to come in and read this NFL script this year.
Oh yeah, it's like oh hey, and then like they did multiple ones with Tom Brady and the Seahawks, Tom Brady and like the Falcons, Tom Brady and
Oh
this and
yeah.
that. Oh my gosh, man, it was
I think the Jason Pierre-Paul one that you said was my favorite though, because they
oh, like they had that whole meme. They had
yeah,
a
it was Hannibal Buress, right?
Hannibal Buress, that whole Hannibal
Yeah.
Buress meme where he's looking at his hands, and I was like, oh my gosh, whoever thought about this in the moment? You're
Evil,
funny, evil, and you're funny because
funny.
I get it.
Yeah, for me, I mean, the NFL is scripted. That's pretty much I think that's what we got to look forward to. The outcome of the game has already been written. But if you want any more proof that the NFL is scripted, I saw this Field Yates tweet as we were writing up our script for today.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, if you want any more proof the NFL is scripted, it's the Chiefs and Eagles, both teams this year, 16-3, 546 scored points, 6 All Pros, including a Kelsey brother and their QB,
Wow.
and were their respective divisions or conferences number 1 seed. NFL is scripted.
Scripted, so hard, down to the minute details.
Yeah, like
They literally said you cannot score anymore after this. It's like, we need you to fail.
yeah, they did all those. You play fantasy. It's kind of a funny bit. Now that your fantasy is over, that we can't really talk about your fantasy season. But you know how it is, where you like won by like 0.5 points, but you're still waiting until Tuesday for those stat adjustments to make sure that you didn't lose.
Right. Oh man, I've actually lost by the point, like 0 point something before, or I've won by the
Oh,
zero
it's
point something.
brutal.
It feels like it. You don't like to be on the other end of it. You just want to be on, like, you don't want to be on the receiving end of those type of losses. You want to be on the winning sides of those
But if
things.
yeah, as I say, it feels damn good on the winning
Feels
side, don't
very good when you get like,
it?
ooh, 0.7. And of course, obviously the Damar Hamlin injury obviously messed up a lot of leagues, but we got through that one. He's healthy, thank God, because it could have went worse. But man, fantasy is fantasy. Can't wait till next year. Here's to the Super Bowl, and the NFL is going to script some type of controversy, some type of controversial call, some type of controversial catch. It's going to be something controversial. There's always something controversial,
Without a doubt.
without a doubt, man. But that's it from us here at Missed Reps. Follow us on all the socials again, the good old Twitters, the Instagrams, and hey, we'll be on YouTube pretty soon with this video, I mean. But hey, like us, like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Hey, rate us at 5 stars on the podcast, though, by the way, and just keep sharing, because yeah, and then come see our ugly mugs on YouTube, because we're there and we're
Ugly.
looking. Well, it's just me. It's just me. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. It's just you. But follow us on all the handles. We hope to see you again next week after the Super Bowl. Peace.